Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. I just made a video that I deleted. I walked into a point of the video where I backed myself into a corner, or a quandary perhaps. In my attempt to understand better the drawing process, for the quadra geometry, I thought, well, what does it look like when it creates a full-size dome, rather than simply the truncated version? I immediately ran into, well, how do I achieve that? Because it wasn't as straightforward as I thought. And I may well have, in my attempt, made a boo-boo somewhere and just created a shape that doesn't really bear the accuracy that I would want. As you can see, I just created the arches or arcs where they intersect, kind of, and thought, well, that's good enough. But what it does mean is that the lower surfaces are much distorted compared to the upper surfaces. I've got an inkling that I have done something fundamentally wrong to create that distortion, but to be fair, I'm not wanting to create a dome out of this. I want to create a pergola which is truncated by necessity. Well, the way I want it is truncated on the sides. But for someone that's wanting to create a dome, they would have to get the correct method. Well, I'm going to be horrible and say until I fall across what that correct method is for the quadra dome geometry, I'm going to leave it alone and let it perhaps be that chased up by someone else. It's a rabbit hole I don't wish to go down currently. But having said that, I created the dome, this one here, and you can see the top pyramid, you can see the hexagons, and then the lower parts, you go, well, what the heck happened there? Well, exactly. And that's unpleasing to my mind. When I created the domes here, the full sphere rather, I coloured the ones that were combinations that were representative of the hexagon and the pyramid, and then you can see the other ones that are grouped together to say, well, that's the distorted surfaces, and they don't bear any resemblance to what we want to have. That's okay. We're doing this. Then I thought, well, I'll just rotate it so that you can see in plan view that the way I've drawn it rather for the quadra still retains its grid-like structure as I want, but it disappears when you rotate it, meaning that it's not a nice symmetrical dome. Well, the dome will be, but the surfaces won't be. Pop back out of parallel projection. Then I thought, is that fair to think that this is requiring to have symmetry in their faces? So I came over to this one here, which is what I'm calling method 2. This is method 1, as shown to us by Paul Robinson. And this is the alternate method, which I'm happy with. But it doesn't really generate the smooth sphere as version 1 does, the conventional method. What happens is that as you rotate this section of dome, surfaces start to overlap and are not able to be rotated correctly. They've got their own jutty-atty shape, and they have to be deleted, as I've done in this one here. Actually, I'll see whether I can remove these. You have to remove those surfaces and recreate these ones. Now, that's possible. There's nothing that saying that you can't do that. However, this version, you don't have to do that. You can take this, or the parts of the surfaces, and you can rotate it and create a full dome. And all the surfaces, when they get rotated into their respective positions, are the same. They don't have to be fudged like this version does. So if you're wanting to create a dome, I'd be suggesting you stick with this conventionally drawn and the method to draw your dome, because after all, you don't want to have to fudge it like I have here, but you can, because you've got a drawing program. Which is more pleasing to you? That's another question. We've got the distorted hexagon, so maybe that's not pleasing. But when we're looking at the nature of the dome and saying we want them to be balanced, remembering this is not the truncated version yet, and the one that has got the truncated version, we've forced, or the method that we've chosen has created the balanced look. So you've got to decide, I suppose, for your decision making, to what you're trying to create. Is it a dome to go over a garden or a house if it's really big? Well, you'd probably stick with this sort of structure and the methodology to create it. Equally, drawing program, you can go through it, realize that there are some shortcomings or necessities to recreate a slightly different dome, and you'll get the measurements for that. Or, for whatever reason, you want to go to the quadra dome, but I think this is so distorted that it would be unpleasing to the eye. Can you recreate it like I did with this version and make it more symmetrical? Why, yes, you can. And this is it here. But where's the hexagon gone? We've actually got pentagons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Isn't that interesting? And it is actually quite a pleasing looking shape. Not necessarily balanced, but well, you know, it is what it is. And this becomes more, that word balanced is a little bit more symmetrical. So these surfaces here, the pentagon and the top pyramid, are the same here and same here. So indirectly, I've created a method for drawing an alternate dome. I'm sure I'm not the first person to come up with this, but it's the first time I've done it, and it looks quite different. This is all based on the quad. It is no longer... So many things to think about. This is it here. It is no longer based on the grid system because of the recreated or restructured surfaces here. So many decisions if you want to make these things viable to build. So that was just a little observation. I am still happy with the quad method of creating this, because it straight away makes our truncated flush and plane sides, as witnessed by those. Not unpleasing, pretty proportionate surfaces for the hexagon, and a reasonable way of drawing and altering, drawing the leg length just by lifting and lowering this base, in this case up to the point on this line of 50%, halfway up. So all in all, for the pergola type structure, all three versions are viable. This one has the lead at the moment, but that may well change. Okie doke. I'll wander off and let yous get on with whatever you're doing. Okay, see you later. Bye.